Hi everyone, so today I want to show you starting here. In fact, we're actually going to look at these two paragraphs in a second. So you'll recall what I'm doing in these models, right? I'm not really going through all the philosophical aspects because, we're going to do those in our lectures. But I want to show you another curiosity of the way philosophers think and write, and that you'd have to sort of pay attention to when doing an exegesis. And in this case, what Leibniz is going to do is think through a kind of an image. And in this case, actually, if you see down here, the image of the garden or a pond full of fish. So let's first just have a statement, right? He says, whence we see that there is whence we see that there is a world, a cosmos of created things, of living beings, animals, entelechies, souls. By entelechies, he sort of means things like plants, things that are sort of moving, self-directed, in the minutest particle of matter. Now, this is what we'll try to explain in the lectures, right? So let's just be clear about what he said here. He said, in the minutest particle of matter, there is a world. A world of what? A world of things. Living beings, animals, entelechies, souls. Okay, let's just be clear what he's saying, right? In the minutest piece of matter, there is a world. Animals, souls live in the minutest piece of matter. Okay, obviously we're going to have to talk about that to try and understand what he could possibly mean by that. But look at how he explains it, right? So now he repeats himself. Every portion of matter, including the minutest, may be conceived. You see he's asking you to sort of think the idea through, as like a garden full of plants, and like a garden, like a pond full of fish. So we need to think about what is a garden and what's a pond. Well, I think actually he's thinking of a pond here as comparable to a garden. So the thing about a garden is that it is a structured, organized, crafted place, and a place of beauty. So he's saying, right, every portion, every bit of matter is like a garden. Now, if we go over here, right, he adds to this, right? So he says, but every branch of a plant, so every part of a plant, every member, leg, arm, whatever, of an animal, and every drop of the fluids within it, every drop of the fluids within the animal or the plant is also, right, there's the important word, also, is also such a garden. What could this mean, right? So we need to be looking at this idea of garden, but what he's saying is that every little bit of matter has a garden within it. And look at what he says. And although the ground and the air, which lies between the plants, right, so the things that, in other words, are sort of empty, and the water, which is between the fish, are not themselves plants or fish, yet they themselves, and of course, right, the ground, so the soil, and the air, right, are the tiniest particles of matter. They themselves contain these things. Gardens of plants, water full of fish. And now, interestingly, right, in the previous paragraph here, right, he's talking about what we philosophers call metaphysics, the ultimate reality of things. But now in this paragraph, he's talking about perception. So he's talking about epistemology, what it is that we know. And so he says, right? He says, metaphysically, the soil contains, in fact, a whole garden. Usually, these plants and animals inside the soil are usually so small as to be imperceptible, right? So we cannot see them. So this is an epistemological claim about what you and I can know. And then, let's just finish it off, right? So here's what I would say about this 68. You've got to try to believe what it is that you're reading, right? Because it's so strange. He's saying, in the tiniest bit of matter, there are whole gardens and whole ponds of fish. Now, as I say, in our lectures, we will try to understand why he would say something so strange. And he knows it's strange, right? Because he's told us that epistemologically, we can't even see these things, right? So then, let's just finish it up, all right? He says, there is therefore nothing that is, note the word here, uncultivated. Remember, a garden is not a prairie. It's not the Grand Canyon. It is something cultivated, tended. Of course, we're ultimately going to have to ask the question, who is the gardener? Nor is there anything sterile or dead in the universe. Remember, he's a panpsychist. So everything in the world is living and conscious in some way. And thus he says, right, because there is nothing that is uncultivated, so there is no chaos, no confusion, everything is ordered, although he says, save in appearance. He says, right, you and I might be confused about this, right? We might not know or appreciate epistemologically, but actually it really is true that everything is cultivated. And then he says, somewhat like, as a pond would appear at a distance. So now he's going to give us this really vivid image that we're going to have to unpack and that you'd have to spend some sentences describing. He says, somewhat as a pond would appear at a distance when we could see in it a confused movement, so to speak, a swarming of the fish, without, however, discerning the fish themselves. So what he's giving us an epistemological image. He's saying we have a sense that the world is full of movement, full of action, full of what he wants to call entelechies, things moving towards accomplishing their natures. But he said it's just like what you might imagine on the surface of a lake, where you see movement across the lake because there are all of these fish underneath the surface of the lake making the lake move. All right, so what he's trying to get at here is the distinction, right? So between paragraph 68 and paragraph 69, he's trying to get at the distinction between what we metaphysically can say, and he's going to have to explain that to us, right? Because he's saying something really strange. And then he's trying to say how it is that we can come to an epistemological or a knowledge of it. So all I wanted to do in this exegesis was show you that sometimes, right, philosophers are going to use sort of vivid images to try to sort of communicate their ideas. And sometimes, right, you've got to sort of believe what it is that you're reading, right? Because when you first read this, you're going to think like, what? He can't be saying that. He cannot be saying that in the tiniest bit of matter, there is a garden, or like a pond of fish. But no, he really is saying that, and he's going to try and convince us that it's true. So as with all these exegeses, right, I'm just trying to show you the different kind of rhetorical moves that philosophers can make. And these are the things that you're going to want to pay attention to when you do your own exegeses. All right, thanks a lot. See ya.